All right. Welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for coming. I wanted to make everyone aware we are filming this. We're on Zoom also, so there's people can connect into to listen to exactly what we're doing here today. And first and foremost, thank you all for being here. To me, I know it's going to mean a lot to our staff. It's going to mean a lot to the developers in the room to understand where we're going. And I want to attempt to give everyone an update on where we're heading, in my view, anyhow, from the town of Elton's side of things. I want to go over a little bit about our economic development that we've done over the last few years and where I see things heading in the near future. And it's evolving. I mean, these things evolve. I mean, just think about it. Years and years ago, everyone wanted to build these big out malls. They wanted to build shopping centers, and what we've seen after we were leading through and getting through COVID, we've been able to do business a little different. And how do we do that? I mean, we shop online. We have deliveries coming to our houses every day. I think even the banking business is changing. You're seeing more and more. Some of the local banks that we have here, not all of them, are shutting their doors, and it's by appointment only. There's a change. Everything's changing, and I'm hoping that we can keep the town of Elton in a position that we're ready for that change or ahead of that change, instead of tending to lag behind a little bit. So the purpose of this meeting is I wanted to give everyone a kind of an update where we're at and leading into where we're going. At the end, we're going to start talking a lot about sports tourism. Sports tourism is billions of dollars, and I don't want us to take away from anyone's presentation, but let them talk about it. But the amount of money that's being spent on sports tourism is crazy dollars, and we have to capture that. And we want to talk about the collateral impacts of that sports tourism dollars that are coming in. So I wanted to start off by giving you kind of an update of where we're at. So where's my clicker? All right, I got my clicker. All right, let me see if I can do this right. All right, new businesses. I wanted to kind of give you a quick update on our new businesses that have happened since 2010. You know, I talked about the Big Elk Mall. It's always evolving. As you can see, we've added a Harbor Freight, an Ollie's, a tropical smoothie cafe. The Popeyes has done some expansion. This PetSmart, the label shoppers took over for Peoples. So things are always changing. The shops at Elton Editions. You know, we were tickled to death to get a Five Guys and a Chipotle. Tickled to death. I mean, the impact that brought to our community, but I think we're looking at the low end. When we start getting into this next level, we're going to be able, when we start bringing in the critical mass of people, we're going to be able to start to bring in higher end restaurants, right? It's going to be very nice for our residents of our town. So the Village at Elton Shopping Center, as you can see, we just added the Grocery House, Sabor Latino, and Villa Corona. These are all nice places if you haven't tried them yet. So our industrial manufacturing warehousing, Free State Business Park. This is the old Bingo truck stop, if anyone's ever aware of the old Bingo truck stop. It burnt down many years ago. But we've added some industrial manufacturing warehousing, and look at the nice tenants we've got. We've got Utz, Johnstone Supply, Custom Coatings and Catalysts, a FedEx hub, and Riverside Chemical Company. And this was just the first phase. Is that correct? There's
The first two buildings.
first two buildings. So in Chesapeake Boulevard, once again we have our industrial manufacturing warehousing. This is really truly a trend that we have to be ahead of. Estes is a very large trucking company. Estes has expanded, and they're going to continue to expand on another 20 I'm looking over at Gene, 20 to 30 acres. So if I say anything incorrect, just let me know. So 20 to 30 acres, Estes is expanding. One of the let's see, I was looking for the new maybe it's on the next slide, the new bicycle. So we have the sit dog training facility, the triple threat combat sports.
At this end. Next.
Next slide. Okay, here we go. So also in the same park on Conica Drive, we have the two McConnell warehouses. One is a huge auto parts distribution center, and then the other is Metal Rays electric bicycle. So they're going to distribute these Metal Rays electric bicycles, which is going to employ employs a lot of people in our community. So this is brand new to us, something that we were just made aware of, quite frankly. This is probably our newest, biggest, exciting thing that we had. And Fortress Steel, if anyone's aware of those folks, they are a distribution center for a steel warehouse. Okay, the First Gladwin Business Park. This is located on Warner Road. We got a Jimbo and Augie's Restoration. We've got Old Dominion Electric Co-op, multiple other new businesses coming into these facilities. Leading into, we have the Freightliner on 189 Bell Hill Road. A lot of action happening at that end. And then, of course, one of the main parts that we're going to talk about today is the Southfield project in general. But Southfield's Parcel 1 is the first building of 3 major warehouses or logistics centers. Over the last few years, it seems like we've added a lot of dental, medical, and pharmacy in Elton. And what I'm showing you is just a small portion of the amount that we've added on. So we've had everything from Elton Smiles to Christiana Care Imaging to LabCorp to Magical Smiles, and then of course the big merge of Union Hospital and Christiana Care. Restaurants and fast foods. You know, I go back all the time. They say, well, Mayor, can't you bring in anything else other than some of the smaller brand franchises? And the answer is yes, they're coming. We have to continue to have a critical mass of people. And once we start bringing in that critical mass, you'll see we'll have an upgrade of some of these. But I enjoy going to every one of these places. Sonic, the Sport Cafe, Central Tavern, Enzo's, the Arby's, the Starbucks, the Dunkin' Donuts, the Olive Garden. They have been added on over the last few years, plus 22 more restaurants we've had here in the town. Hard to believe. Has everyone ate at every one of those? There we go. Breweries. We're very fortunate we have 2 breweries in Elton. We've got the Elk River Brewing Company and the Maryland Beer Company. This was a trend that started a few years ago that people enjoy having the craft beers. And throughout the county, I would venture to guess we might have 10 breweries. 6 breweries. All right, there we go. Entertainment. During our COVID years, I felt that prior to COVID, one of the visions that we had was to give people what they can't order online. And that's entertainment. And I think that we still need to look at that. We have to be able to bring people into our community so they can enjoy themselves. And these were 2 items that we brought in, you know, the Stress Factory, Angry Jack's Throwing Club. Our downtown, we try to bring live music in every week. We have a new Elton Music Center. Is it a slide on here? No.
Yeah.
We have the brand new Elton Music Center, which is actually under construction right now. It'll be, I think in mid-June will be their first, or their grand opening, their first music venue. But he's got top name artists coming right here to Elton. Pretty unique, really. It's a venue that'll hold 200 to 300 people. And I think his ticket sales are just blowing up, all in a good way. Car dealerships. Apple Auto Mitsubishi, we were there at the reopening or the remodel reopening last week. And Apple has just acquired another 5, 6, 7 acres around them. And they're going to bring in a couple more additional dealerships. The Hertrick dealership across the street. We got the Ramsey Ford Quick Lane car dealership. And this doesn't include our Williams dealership, our Williams family that we have here in Elton. Renovations and expansions. The Audi has expanded. The Chick-fil-A is expanded, and I think Chick-fil-A would like to expand again. They had the room. Planet Fitness, when they first came here, Planet Fitness was probably in a room about 3 times this size. And if you go to Planet Fitness now, they've taken over a large portion of the Big Elk Mall. Dunkin' Donuts. I was there this morning to get your coffee and your donuts, and I have to tell you that the renovation inside that Dunkin' Donuts, if you haven't been to one in a while, it's amazing. I mean, they've the technology that they have there, and you think, well, what kind of technology can they have? Well, they have taps. They can pour your coffee through taps, and it speeds up the process. Pretty cool. We got a couple other projects under. The Wawa, of course, was built a few years ago, and the Sheets is under construction. So the Sheets is it's one of the new businesses that's making its way to the Northeast. Looking forward to seeing them. Residential and senior housing over the last few years. We had the villages of Bell Hill. We've got Birchwood at Elton Senior Project. Then we got the North Street Senior Residence across the street. These are things that we know is very, very important to have housing for not only our seniors, but we also need to have housing for our live, work, play environment, which we'll talk about a little bit later. Our Southfields Plan Unit Development. This was something that was brand new to us. This project in general was a project that, it's 650, 700 acres of land, and it had to be planned out. It was our first PUD that we've ever done in the town of Elton. And I know, I think Mr. Jackson a bit more about that here shortly. Probably what I feel is one of our biggest accomplishments that we've done over the last few years is we built our neighborhood community center. We were looking at trying to do this for the last 30 years. We tried and we tried and we tried and tried. Every time that we would go out and try to build this thing, the price kept going up and up and up and up. And we as a team, our board got together and we figured out a way to be able to build this. We actually borrowed money from ourselves. We borrowed the money from our major facility fund, and we were able to fund this without any impact on our town residents. How nice is that? I mean, it was great. And I think we're all getting enjoyment. I see Janie's here. How is it today? Was it Bill? There are a lot of people in there today?
There will be. There's senior bingo today.
Senior bingo. So half of you don't know.
Hey, girl, I gotta go.
There we go. So currently on our books, we have over 1,865 planned residential houses here in Elton. So we got 48 townhomes, still looking at Walnut Hill. We got Greenmount Commons. We've got 3, 4 parcels at Southfields, which is a single family, some apartments, some senior housing. We've got over 100 single family off of Muddy Lane. We got Liberty Lane, Tenby Ridge, Red Hill Apartments. So we have a lot of planned housing for this boom of the employees that we're going to be bringing into this community. Planned businesses. We've got Clean Nanomedical. I don't know if everyone's aware of this, but this is a group that bought the W.L. Gore building going into the Upper Chesapeake facility. Clean is they're on the New York Stock Exchange, but they believe that they have a cure for Alzheimer's. So let's see what happens there. The Bridge Street mini warehouses, the Southfield parcels, the Stonewall Commerce Center, the Apple Auto Mitsubishi expansion, the Free State Building Parks, the Southfields Commercial Tracks 5, 6, and 8, the Southfield Sportsplex, the Freightliner Body Shop, SD's Express Shop. These are projects that we're working on right now that are coming to fruition, and it's going to happen sooner than we think. I guess that's the end of it, huh? There we go. So I wanted to give everyone kind of an update on. I guess I can hit OK. I'm not too good at this. Hope I don't shut anyone off. There we go. So a brief overview of what we've had so far and kind of where we're going. I'd like to bring up Tom Trustorfer. Did I have it close?
Yes.
And Tom's with KCI, and Tom's going to give you a kind of a brief summary of the work our engineering firm is doing for the town of Elton. And there's a lot of work going on. Tom, the floor is yours.
Thank you. So the mayor just told you all, I guess what's happened here the last 13 years, and I'm going to just concentrate on what we've done in the last month. So these are just projects we've reviewed and project and work we've done over the last month. Southfield Water Tower is a 600,000 gallon water tank that's being constructed to supply water for town expansion. And KCI is working with CB&I, the developer in the town, providing construction phase services, including inspection. And that currently right now, the water main and the tank foundation are being installed in that water tank. Also in Southfields, we're working in Parcel I, which is several warehouses being constructed on the east side of Southfields, which you'll hear about a little bit more later, probably, on Commerce Center Drive. And KCI has recently been reviewing the as-built stormwater environmental site design plan. So that's some of the warehouses are already done. We're doing as-built work. And we're also reviewing stormwater plans and some other site plans for the phase 2. So some more warehouses being constructed there. Also in Southfields, we're working on the boulevard, which is the main road that's going to go through Southfields connected to 213. And we've been reviewing plans for the final public water and sewer and the stormwater and environmental site for that one also. And one of the other warehouses the mayor discussed earlier is the McConnell warehouse. Is a 263,000 square foot warehouse off Chesapeake Avenue. And I guess we're also working the as-built for that. So that's in, we're looking at as-built plans for that project also. Patriots Landing is a 100-unit residential subdivision in the northeast side of Elkton, and we're currently reviewing preliminary site plans and concept stormwater environmental site design plan for that one. William H. Brady lot, I think that was also mentioned. That's just a gravel surface being constructed for outdoor storage of boats and RVs, and we're working on the concept site, well, reviewing the concept site stormwater and environmental site design for that one. South Walnut Hill, phase 2 is happening now. 21 new residential units being added, and we're reviewing the road and stormwater and the stormwater plans for that one. Elton Commerce Center Lot 3 is kind of expansion of Southfield. It's some of the warehouses that were built as part of the PUD. It's being expanded. Some other warehouses aren't actually part of the PUD, but it's the same builder. And that's about 330,000 square feet more. And we're looking, we did an add-on subdivision, reviewed an add-on subdivision, reviewed the site plan and stormwater plan for that project. Freightliner Body Shop is also mentioned, and that's 17,000 square foot body shop and additional parking being added to the existing Freightliner. That's by the intersection of Route 279 and 995. And we recently reviewed a concept site stormwater plan for that expansion. in that portion of this one. SDA is also part of the mayor's presentation earlier. It's in addition to the body shop and more parking. And we're reviewing the concept, completely the review of the concept stormwater plan for that one. American Concert Venue, that's the conversion of the existing structure into the theater venue that was mentioned. And we reviewed plans for the addition of water to that existing building. That's completed at this point, the design at least. And another car wash is being proposed. The edge of the Southfields development, WashX car wash. And we just reviewed concept site plans and we're still reviewing stormwater plans for that. So that's a bunch of projects that that are being proposed that KCI has done reviews for. We did also do some other engineering work for the town, water rehabilitation, cost analysis, and standard spec. We're working on investigating the need for townwide system upgrades and updating town specifications to keep them up to date. Working on artesian water interconnect. So Elkton is working on establishing a second interconnection with Artesian along Route 40 right now. So KCI has wrapped up the survey work and is currently doing some design work for that connection. And there's some work on the Chesapeake Boulevard force main, and that's sewers there being upgraded to accommodate the new large pharmaceutical facility that's being constructed there. And KCI has completed that design. The project's in the bid phase now. Also, some of you may know PFAS has been detected in some of Elkton's water wells, found all over the country right now. So KCI has completed and submitted a PFAS preliminary engineering report, and we're working on doing a pilot study before possibly moving on to the next stage there. And the Red Hill Reservoir is being rehabilitated. So the Red Hill Reservoir, about 2.9 million gallon concrete tanks that have pipe-along liner and cover. And those tanks are approaching their lifespan. So the liner and cover was replaced last year, and now we're doing the west tank. So the concrete repair is done and getting ready to add the new liner and install the new cover. Well house number 4 is part of the Southfields development. And that is associated with a new well with a 500,000 gallon per day capacity. And that well house is currently under construction. KCI is helping the town evaluate the causes of system water losses that have been identified by a water audit. And that evaluation includes field verification of leaks and checking the accuracy of production meters. Also working on some MDE appropriation permits to I guess that's appropriation for surface water treatment, and we're working with MDE to address conditions that are in permit. Also done some work on an add-on subdivision for a parcel in town, 213 East High Street, combining 2 properties. So the user can take those 2 properties and do something productive with them. And finally, we're doing some work at Highland Avenue. I think there was some water problems there. Some water was draining into some yards. So the city's done a design to redirect some of that water to open space. And the town is currently reviewing that plan. I guess what I want to point out is this is just work that's happened in the last month. There are at least, I think, 10 other jobs happening right now. Nothing was submitted for review in the last month, and so there's lots of other projects that are currently active right now. This is just the work done in the last one.
Thank you, Tom.
Good things happen.
Thank you.
Sure.
I think it was important for everyone to understand there's a lot of robust growth happening right here in our town. And we're forward thinking on a lot of things that we're doing here. And I'm pretty excited. It's a little boring when you listen to some of that, but it's very, very important for the town of Elkton. So next up, I'd like to bring up Danielle Carroll to say a few words if she could. So Danielle not only is the president of the Elkton Alliance, who's works on our economic development for the town, but they are also, she's also with Hartford Bank. So I'm not sure which hat you're going to wear.
I might wear both.
All right.
Yeah. Sometimes they blend over. So thank you for having me, Mayor Alt. I appreciate it. As Rob said, I'm a commercial lender for Hartford Bank. We are a local community bank, so we do have our thumb on the pulse of what goes on, especially in Elkton, because my office is seated here, but also the county. But I do wear the hat of the president of the Elkton Alliance board, and the Elkton Alliance has been a significant role in just that live, work, play environment that I think Rob mentioned earlier with the town. So I'm not snazzy with a PowerPoint report because this was printed off my computer yesterday. But I do have copies if anybody wants to look. It's just a quick snapshot of our 22 annual report for the Elkton Alliance. So I'll just go through some highlights, but I think the most important thing is, just like everybody else, we've gone through a lot of really impactful changes in the last 3 years. So, we had a switch of executive director that was very unplanned. Pandemic hit, so everybody had to switch gears. We became, we went from doing events and recruiting small businesses to helping small businesses survive. And what did that mean? And that was a lot of grant work, a lot of repurposing of grants. I mean, I believe in 2020, just in our very small downtown district, which is outlined by the state of Maryland, we put about 150,000 in small grants back to just the operating businesses. That was in addition to the PPP loans and everything else going on from a federal government and bank level. So we really did our best to be a resource, a lot of communications from federal government, state of Maryland on how we can help small businesses make it through. In addition to that, we revitalized and really changed and worked on our mission. It was a very purposeful thing that we worked on with the, partnership of the town, Mayor Alt, the board. If it's not boring, I'll just read, our mission is to revitalize, strengthen Elkton through economic development, historic and cultural preservation, and the advancement of the arts. And I think that truly speaks to what encompassed that presentation that you saw earlier. In doing that, we celebrated and welcomed 19 new businesses. And this is in 2020. I know Rob kind of covered, the last couple of years because there's so much that can happen just in 1 year. We implemented our grant funds that ended up providing a camera system for us to work with our police department to keep our streets safe. So we have camera systems throughout the downtown. We're adding more currently. So we received last year a grant of $100,000 to be able to put additional cameras to service our town. It's very helpful, just the perception of what that means to have people on camera. So hopefully that increases the perception of safety, the town's engagement on making it a walkable, fun place to shop, eat, no matter what the time of day. We just are implementing grant funds that we received and applied for. And this is my passion, the musician in me, but we'll have a speaker system downtown going on our lampposts. That is going to be just, don't you laugh at me, Mike. Mike Brown's been a great technical help with that. But no, I, as a musician, when you walk out and you hear music playing, it just changes the environment. And, for our restaurants who have outdoor seating, for even just people walking by, our local retail shops, if they're leaving the music hall and they're wanting to grab a coffee at Sport, we think that speaker system is going to be a really big game changer in just the atmosphere of our downtown. So we look forward to that in the next couple of weeks, actually. Fingers crossed, don't quote me on weeks because it's been a little while in the making. We've raised over $60,000 last year to carry out 40 community-centric events. So I know most people know our popular events such as the Fall Festival or our parades that we do. We have a great Halloween parade that really gets the community engaged to compete. But we also do things all year long. So you think 52 weeks in a year, we do 40 events. We're pretty busy making sure that there's somewhere for our residents to go and enjoy all of the things that Elkton has to offer, whether it's an arts festival, whether it's a jump into June for the kids to be able to come downtown. We have a large variety, and we celebrate our small businesses and our citizens of the year annually. When we look at by the numbers, last year we had an operating budget of 288,000. 188,000 of that is due to the community and what we've been able to provide in grants. Most of our grants are directly reinfused into our small business community. And if not, it's infused into resources and infrastructure for the town of Elkton. We recently, and it's not in 22, but I'm going to mention it, it's in 23. But the first quarter of this year, we have expanded and asked the state of Maryland to recognize that our downtown has grown. Typically in the past, we had our original Alliance mission to redo the streetscapes, run electric under the underground and all of what that entailed. But now it's transitioned. We need to expand that. We have small businesses on Bridge Street, on extended North Street. We see them up all the way till we get to the Big Elk Mall. So we really want to encompass our grants that we can apply for so that we can support those folks with improving their exteriors of their buildings, because we really want to see pride in our facades. And our business owners want to do that. But if the town of Elkton through the Alliance can provide 50% of that financing and funding and a grant, it's a wonderful thing that we have available. So I do want to say that when we look at this, our digital marketing has been something we focused on as well. I think we've talked about the perception of Elkton a little bit. If the town residents only knew what we see here today, I really hope you encourage to spread the word to, go watch this public video, because it's pretty impressive. I'm born and raised in the town. I think it's an amazing place to live. I raised my kids here. But in doing that, our social media campaign is vital. It's important to get all the positive out there. It's important to put out there everything going on in the community. So we've really partnered with a great digital marketing person who has been able to help us extend that reach, reinvigorate it. And, just in 2022, we've reached over 298,000 people. The best part of that is 89% are new visitors to the Elkton Alliance social media website, and all of that is positivity. You'll never see anything negative there. So it's all about what the town's doing, the new businesses, the ribbon cuttings, all of the good that's going on. So I think it's important to know that we are doing a very concerted job at trying to direct the community to all of the good that's going on in the town. And I'll just sum it up with our partnerships. We have Main Street Maryland, the Maryland State Arts Council, very involved in what's going on a state level to make sure that Elkton is at the top of their priority. Hopefully that will increase our funding in the near future. We switched from a 501c6 to a C3. Or what that means is basically that we have a much bigger pool of funding to go after to benefit the residents and business owners of the town. So we're going to make sure that we continue to work very hard. Not going to go into all of these here just because I'll have copies for you to read. But I did want to touch on, some of our focuses, greater employment opportunities. You see what's there. When we look to go out and create these new partnerships with these organizations, we want to make sure that that our community knows there are good, solid jobs here in the town of Elkton. When you have that and you have those residents, we reach critical mass, we need resources, resources for all ages. When I sat with our executive director, who unfortunately she's had a bucket list trip planned for over a year, so she's in Ireland enjoying. But, what we talked about was, how do we create a town that preserves what our senior residents remember about Elkton, but provides for Gen Z and generations to come? And I think we're doing a good job of that. We have the Elkton Music Hall, which you could see a regional national act in the upcoming Americana, but you can also see a Metallica tribute band or a old folk country band. But they're not, as much as I love supporting local artists, we have great venues for that. Elk River Brewery hosts some great local artists, and we see that. But having a regional national pull is going to be very important to sustaining what we have for small business. Because when we bring 200 to 300 people here for a concert, what do? They want to go have a meal. They want to go shop. They want to go and experience the local community. So that's what we're looking to do. Side note, again, banker hat, I'll throw back on real quick, it's really important to know that from a financing standpoint, even though rates are going up, we have a very, very strong financially stable community. As a lender, just myself, I service Cecil County, and majority of what I do happens in Elkton because we are the county seat. We are in the state of development, but just my office alone, we brought in $30 million on the street in commercial lending in 2022. And I think that's a big number considering, we haven't had that kind of activity in Elkton. So I'm just one lender with one bank. So I wanted to point out that things are still happening. It makes sense. Money is available for businesses. They need to just, work with their local resources like the Alliance, like the Chamber of Commerce, like the town and myself to make sure that they know that it's available. So with that, I want to say thank you to Mayor Alt for having me. And I do have some of our Alliance annual reports here if anybody would like one.
Thank you.
Thank you.
There's a few comments that I want to add. She's got my mind really thinking here, and I'm going to interject because this is going to lead as we start to move forward a little bit. Currently the town's going through their budgeting process as well as all municipalities and all governments are right now. Once you put the wish list together, I'm going to call it the wish list, we're about $4 million more that is needed to fund our budget this year than we were last year. And what I want you to think about, everyone out there to think about, is that even though we have so much robust growth with the structures, the buildings that are going up, the increases in the real estate prices, the assessment prices, it's very difficult to keep up with those type of numbers. Very, very difficult. So that's going to be leading in to the last part of our presentation today, is that that's why we need to start looking at other dollars that can come in, whether it's direct or indirect dollars. We got to really think about that. And that's what this mission is about here today. So with that, I'd like to bring up Miss, where are we at? Okay, Megan McRae with the Cecil County Chamber. I invited Megan to say a couple words on behalf of the Cecil County Chamber.
Thank you.
Come on down.
Well, thank you for inviting me here today. So I'm the new executive director for the Cecil County Chamber of Commerce. Actually, Alicia Calhoun and I started on the same day. So Upton Alliance executive director, which is really important, I think, because as we're talking about Upton specifically, as the county chamber, we're your county connection. We're in all of the towns and all of the communities. But as we think specifically here about Elkton, it has been great to work with Alicia, to work with you, to really meet where you guys are, what your town's initiatives are. We represent over 450 members. That looks around 17,000 employees throughout our county. We have room to grow and we are growing. I can sit back and name probably all the same businesses that you have, Apple Auto, Rick with Elkton Music Hall, so many we are working with. Office of Economic Development, we are working closely with. It's so important that our partnerships are here because we need to be on the same page. We need to be here to communicate with each other, not compete. So what we've been doing, we poll our members, we look at what our members' legislative initiatives are. And from that, I don't just guess what you guys want and need when we sit down with our government relations committee. That is coming from the businesses within Cecil County. If we don't currently work with your business, we would love to work with your business. We want to know what impact the legislative priorities are having on you. What are ways in which we can help you as a chamber? We are here to support you. We are here to make sure that in Cecil County, we are having a strong economic business culture with countywide and then here within Elkton. So specifically, we've just been working with the businesses. We've been working with Elkton Music Hall and all of his upcoming stuff, Elkton Magic, Patriots Glen, and the things that they're bringing to the county. It's been very, very exciting. So I've been excited to be in this role for the few months that I have and getting to meet so many of you. If I don't know you, please, I would love to have an opportunity to talk with you, work with you, hear more about what your needs are. Nadine with Great Wolf Lodge, Perryville, we've been working well together. So we're really trying to be that community voice that goes throughout our entire county. So that's about it. I don't want to take too much time.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. I thought it was important for all of us to know who our alliance directors are, our county chamber. I guess it's been a little over a month ago, I was down at Perryville for an event, and I had the opportunity to meet Nadine, and it was very impressive of her presentation on the Great Wolf Lodge, and I think it's very important for our town to understand what's happening at the other end of the county, but how that is going to impact our town also. So Nadine, come on down. So we got Nadine Miracle with the Great Wolf Lodge, and Nadine's going to give us a little presentation. So now it's going to start livening up here a little bit. There we go. And let me know if you need me to do anything. You good? You're hooked in?
Probably will be great.
All right.
All right. So thank you so much. Thank you, Mayor Alt, for having me. I genuinely appreciate it. Let me share my screen real quick. All right. There you go. We're all set. And yes, Megan has been a great partner. So if you have not had an opportunity yet to connect with the chamber, I highly recommend it. Especially me as a new member in the community. It's been a great resource for us to get to know the members of our community. And I actually see quite a few familiar faces in this room. So very excited to be here. So I want to first start out by telling you who I am. So my name is Nadine, as the mayor shared. I have had the wonderful opportunity of being with Great Wolf Lodge for 15 years. So my journey actually started at our lodge in the Pocono Mountains right up in Pennsylvania. And through that time, I've had the opportunity to work throughout the country in many different locations. And Great Wolf Lodge, Maryland will officially be my 5th location. So very excited. With that, I'd love to share a little bit more about Great Wolf Lodge and Maryland and what this means. And so for those of you, how many of you have visited a Great Wolf Lodge? A few of you in the room? All right. So I'd love to share a little bit more.
I haven't yet.
Oh, you haven't? Well, you're going to have to come. Okay. So for our Great Wolf Lodge, we will be located in Cecil County. We're very happy to be here. And we are very excited because this lodge will not only be our 20th lodge in the brand, this will also be our largest lodge. So we will have 700 guest rooms at this location. For those of you that have not been to a Great Wolf, like the mayor, we're very excited for you to be able to come soon. Our official opening date is June 14th of this summer. So we've been able to accelerate that, which is really exciting. Initially, when we started this project, we were planning for August of this summer, and through really great partnership with the town of Perryville, also the county, Cecil County, as well as the state of Maryland, the project was able to accelerate. And in addition to that, our construction partners at Turner and really good planning for resourcing on our Great Wolf development team. From there, a little bit about Great Wolf Lodge before I get into all the fun stuff that happens under our roof. Great Wolf Lodge is what we call a staycation destination. We are a family resort, and what we typically see is that we're drawing guests from about a 3-hour radius to our properties. We are that close, convenient, carefree getaway for families. We are not the destination that's going to kind of go in place of your week at the shore or your week-long trip to Disney or maybe an overseas vacation. We are something that's really easy and accessible for families to participate in. And so at our lodge, why Cecil County was such an attractive option is when you look at the 3-hour that radius that is in proximity to our lodge here, you're actually capturing 4 major metropolitan markets. And what that just lets us know about is the population density that is within that 3-hour radius. We're not necessarily always depending on the individuals right within those city destinations to come to our lodge, but we do know that means that there's many families within a 3-hour drive to come and visit this destination. And so what we look to is we're going to see families coming from the DC area, Baltimore, as well as Philadelphia, and even as far as New York City. And within that, we do expect a lot of capture from the markets surrounding that in Delaware, as well as the larger area of Pennsylvania, Maryland, New Jersey. So really excited. And that was one of the reasons why we decided to go big in Maryland here. And that's why we decided to be 700 rooms, because traditionally Great Wolf's were typically between that 400 and 500 mark, because we're typically placed between two major metropolitan markets. But for this property, again, specifically, we're between those four. So you have a really great destination here. So one of the things, in addition to our 700 guest rooms, we really are looking forward to having a lot of families come visit this destination every year. The initial forecast that we have right now is that we're going to bring half a million additional visitors to this destination every year annually to come to the lodge. And at the lodge, we will offer overnight experiences to our guests that also will include your overnight room, as well as access to the water park. We also have an adventure park, restaurants on site, many different offerings for families to enjoy. But there will be other options like day passes and birthday party celebrations to have at our lodge, as well as we do have a meetings and conference space that is used. We've actually had really exciting and encouraging inquiries and requests for proposals for our meeting space. So it's a little bit over 7,000 square feet. So you can have a banquet plated dinner for about $350. And then if you're looking for something in a classroom style setting, or something even a theater setting like this, you're over the 500 mark. So again, sometimes you may not think of Great Wolf as a meeting destination, but I can assure you it's a great part of our business. So this is a rendering of our lodge. This is the aerial photo. I hope many of you have maybe driven past the construction site or have had a chance to see our big slides as you're coming down the 95 corridor. But we are nearing the finish line with our projected opening, actually a little less than a month away from today. So a month as of yesterday. So I'd love to share a little bit with you about our water park. So 128,000 square feet. And so at Great Wolf Lodge, when you come to our parks, we really focus on the opportunity for families to really spend quality time together. And we have everything in our park, from rides for those that are really experienced and want a thrill-seeking opportunity, as well as we have lots of amenities and activities for the little ones that may not be so excited about a water slide. We have a lazy river, a wonderful wave pool. We have cabanas if you'd like a relaxing, enjoyable experience. And what's great about our lodge is, even though we do have an outdoor section of our facility, that is our outdoor resort style pool and pool deck, much of our water park and our 22 water slides are captured in our 128,000 square foot water park. And with that, year round, it's a wonderful warm 84 degrees. So no matter if it's cold outside or if it's raining, it's a great vacation destination that isn't necessarily dependent on the weather. To tell you a little bit more, one of the things that we focus on in Great Wolf is, to give you an idea of that 128,000 square feet, that's 2.5 football fields in size. But still, 22 water slides, that sounds like a lot. As you're driving down 95, you may have seen it, but a lot of our water slides and activities traverse the outside of our water park. These specifically being some of our family raft rides that families can enjoy together. And then as we go forward, we also have some really exciting slides. We are featuring two of our brand new slides to Great Wolf Lodge, called Forest Flume and High Paw Holler at this location. Both are really exciting, a little bit more thrilling from the body slides. And actually this past weekend and still today, that's where our team is ready to start there at 1 o'clock. We're doing our slide commissioning, which we have worked with members of our team that we're going down and testing the water slides and making sure they're lots of fun and a great opportunity for you and your families to come enjoy. So the park and everything is really getting there. So it's a very exciting time for us at Great Wolf Lodge. Another item that's really an icon and signature for Great Wolf Lodge is our Otter Cave Waterworks, which is our port structure. Again, you saw it in the first picture, but it's a 1,000-gallon tipping bucket that's going to come down on families like a waterfall. Just super exciting. We also have our Whooping Hollow area that is designed for younger children to actively run around and play. And so with our pack and their families, I got to see some of that this weekend on Saturday. It was a lot of fun. They were really enjoying it. So I'm excited for the rest of the public for it to be open in no time. So more than just a water park destination, at Great Wolf Lodge, we want to make sure that we're focusing on more ways that the families can come together. So we actually have a 57,000 square foot adventure park. So some of you may or may have not been, when you've been to a Great Wolf Lodge, you may or may not have had this adventure park. Great Wolf Lodge has been around for 25 years. So we've taken a lot of the learnings from the past 25 years and put them all into this lodge. So it's almost like as you kind of go through our lobby experience, you're going to go in through an adventure park right before you get to the water park. And that includes things like bowling, 2-story interactive ropes course, Magi Quest, which is a virtual reality scavenger hunt, as well as our arcade. And now, really also an attractive piece of this is you do not have to be an overnight guest in order to enjoy the adventure park and the restaurants we have on site. And like I shared, we will have these items can all be purchased individually. We also do packages for these as well. And after the whole family's enjoyed a ton of time in the water park, as well as all the time in the adventure park, we know everybody's really hungry. So we definitely have a lot of F&B offering, food and beverage offerings under one roof. So for here, again, we know that there's different desires for every family, for everyone that is coming to visit us. So a couple of things that we offer. So we will have 7 different food and beverage offerings under our one roof. That includes a full service Dunkin' Donuts. So anytime you want to stop in. We also have our Timber Snack Shop, which is where you can get a great burger, salad, sandwiches. That's open in the water park area, as well as our adventure park. We have a pizzeria on site, as well as Woods End Creamery, which is your kind of confectionery space. And then one of the things that we actually were asked to do with this lodge from our guests was to create a more elevated dining experience. Families know that, kind of that family theme park food is always great, but they said, we'd really like to sit down together as a family and be able to try something new. And so one of the things that we focused on is creating an elevated experience in our Barnwood restaurant. That'll be about 330 seats. And it will offer a menu that really highlights some of the local food aspects of Maryland, as well as the signature beverage menu. And although it's a little bit more of an upscale dining experience, it definitely is family friendly, which is great. And at Great Wolf Lodge, we also have really great suites. So just to give you a snapshot of these, sorry, I went too fast. In our 700 guest rooms, we really focus on kind of creating that escape for families, even though you are staying kind of local in that 3-hour drive. At Great Wolf Lodge, we love to focus on fun. So what's more fun with your family than having a bunk bed suite? We also have larger suites that accommodate parties of 8 to 12. Really, what we see a lot of individuals coming to our destination is what we would call friend-family vacations, where multiple families are coming together. Or we even see a lot of multi-generational families traveling together on these experiences. And then entertainment and seasonal celebrations. One thing we like to focus on is time that the family can spend together. So included in your Great Wolf experience is always our family entertainment activities. So the adventure park those are items that are available for additional purchase. But our grand lobby, we host a series of activities throughout the day that really bring that family time together. That would be anything from yoga tales when you wake up in the morning, family games in the afternoon, and then a really great dance party in the evening. We also will have a really larger than life lobby show that's going to tell the story of Luna Wolf, but it's going to transform a whole lobby with digital projection, lights, and sound. So it's really a neat experience for the family to enjoy. And at Great Wolf Lodge, we're all about celebrating special times of the year as well as special events. But just want to share with you a couple of our seasonal programming. I know that being in Elkton and being in the town, I feel that I've seen these seasonal celebrations also in this area. But we love to start out in fall with Halloween. We really focus on fall and do trick-or-treat trails every night at our property. In winter, we move into the Snowland celebration where it snows inside the lobby every day and we decorate the lodge like a winter wonderland. Spring, we really focus on bringing everything back to life, vibrant and new. And then also in the summer, we focus on summer camping. So a lot of those things you traditionally focus on in summer, like s'mores, fun family activities and competitions. So we really like to bring that time together. So with that, I think one of the other things, and I don't want to, one of the things that I think is really important is, although we're not here in Elkton, Maryland per se, we're in the county. And one thing that in working with a couple of the larger groups and organizations that we've already partnered with, Some of them are that are looking for our destination as an overnight venue is some of them are in Hartford County. Some of them are actually the Maryland 5-star up here in Fair Hill. So really close by. Is that the room nights that we're bringing to the market is definitely something that allows for a lot more visitors to the destination. So we are adding more than 250,000 room nights annually for guests to be able to stay out. So although we are, although we are in Perryville, I think that expands a lot of opportunity to bring more visitors to this county and to this region. And like I said, it's families is a great place to be, but it's not always the only type of guest we get. Our business and conference center is another area that works really well. Any questions?
Any questions for Nadine? Thank you.
All right. Thank you for having me. Appreciate it. Okay, great. Thank you. Great.
Thank you. Her presentation was as great as it was the first time I seen it. Wonderful. Of course, as I'm sitting there listening to the amount of visitors, 500,000 additional visitors coming to Cecil County. That's an impact, huge impact. I wanted to mention that Gene Minner and I are actually meeting, and I guess I can talk about the rail. Sure. Yes. Of course I can. So I wanted to. This is moving. We may have this commuter rail link sooner than we think. So could you imagine? The whole game plan is to connect Perryville to Newark, Delaware, and then about a year later, the town of Elton would have a stop for commuter rail. But what's nice about that is now you have families coming from New York that could go currently right down to Perryville, for example, to the Great Wolf Lodge. And then when they stop at Elton, that'll be the next project we talk about shortly. So I'd like to bring up Ray Jackson. Would you like to come up, or would you want to bring Cushman Wakefield up with you, or what you're thinking? I'd like to bring Ray Jackson up. Ray Jackson is a developer that has done our first and only PUD at this point in the town of Elton. But I also wanted to mention another thing that Ray has done for us. I want to say the town of Elton is we had a golf course which was going up for auction. Patriots Glen Golf Course. It was built in 2000. The golf course was doing well. It was in a great neighborhood. The property values were kind of, I would almost say, starting to decline. And I asked Ray Jackson and Mike Brown to step up, and they acquired Patriots Glen Golf Course, and it's been a little over a year, about a year and a half, year and 5 months right now. And I have to tell you, it's really made an impact on our town and our community, and we really appreciate that. And I know you didn't want to get involved in that, but thank you for stepping up and making that happen. So I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for allowing me to step up here this morning. So my name is Ray Jackson. I'm the owner of Stonewall Capital. We're the master developer of Southfields. Started about 4 years ago, actually. We sat at this table. Gene was present. We had a Team Elton meeting to discuss what Southfields would look like. And to piggyback on some of the things that the mayor had talked about, one of the priorities or one of the themes, I would say, was that it was going to be a live, work, play development. And we discussed that. And that what that meant to me is a mixed use project that included job creation. It included residential units, housing. It included retail, commercial. And then I think it's important for me to say one of the things that I first heard the mayor say that when we met was that there was an interest in a regional sports complex. And I made an agreement with the mayor. I shook his hand the first time I met him. I said, we're going to make that happen. And I'm going to compliment Mike prematurely here. But as far as business partners are concerned and people are concerned, a local resident here, because the mayor asked me to make sure that we had a local people on our team. I want to commend Mike Brown for everything that he's done first at Patriots Glen and then with the sports complex. So I think it's important to say that. As the conversations with Southfields were developing, I had mentioned to the mayor that there was going to be a lot of capital that was going to be needed for this project. Consequently, there would be a lot of outside investment on national companies. The first thing that we had to do is we had to facilitate a PUD. Jean and her staff they were very gracious in working with us through that process. It was an elongated process because the town had never done it before. So we did it together. Got that approved probably 2020, I think is when that officially was approved. And then we started processing individual subdivision plans. The first being the job creation, the industrial. So Trammell Crow is our business partner there. They purchased 250 acres from us in 2020. They've already built the first facility. It's a $100 million investment that they made in the community. They're processing buildings number 2 and 3 now from a site development standpoint. I'm going to ask McLean Fisher from Cushman Wakefield to come up and talk about that in a little while. But I'll tell you this, that in addition to, and Tom had made reference from KCI, in addition to Southfields, Trammell Crow has also made another investment with us, and that's Commerce Center 3. They bought another 20 acres in front of the existing property. So Trammell Crow is a business partner, is fully invested in the town of Elkton, and I'm appreciative of that. They did that all in spec. So they've made over $100 million investment in the town of Elkton to date. Their total projected investment is north of $350 million when the project's complete in the next 3 to 5 years. So we've got the job creation part started. We now need to start processing plans for infrastructure. Our company is building over $20 million worth of infrastructure. You heard Tom talk about a water tower that's being built. That water tower is a $5 million investment that our company is taking on. Town's not paying for any of that. We're hooking up to a well that our company deeded over to the town. So this is the public-private partnerships that I like to talk about, and I will tell you that the town has been incredible with regards to working together and being an advocate for the project. So I'm appreciative of that. Got a long way to go. We still got to get through some approvals so we can get the boulevard put in, so we can get the water and the sewer put in. But again, I like to say it's Team Elkton working on that. So I'm appreciative of that. So where we are right now is we're right at the, Gene's hopefully going to smile and say, hopefully we're at the 2-yard line now with regards to getting the plans approved for the infrastructure. Our intent is to start that this summer. So we cut the road in, the main boulevard road. As Tom described, we're already started the fabrication of the tower itself. We're going to put a sewer pump station in. Stormwater management. Again, it's about a $20 million investment. So once that process starts, we continue to work on our approvals. Parcel C is single family detached. Again, a national investor here, builder, is D.R. Horton. D.R. Horton will be building single family detached homes on Parcel C. Our apartment developer, which is really in conjunction with Parcel C, they're kind of working a parallel path, is Greystar, who's the largest residential developer in the world. So we have national companies here, Fortune 100 companies that want to be in Elkton, Maryland. I'm excited about that. I call them our strategic partners. So again, part of the agreement that I had with the mayor is that we would have I would need to bring in capital from the outside, national developers and builders. But that we would also nurture and develop local relationships. And I want to compliment Danielle. Our company has a longstanding agreement with a national bank, and we migrated over, and now we bank with Danielle and Hartford Bank. So that shows our commitment to the local jurisdiction too, both at Southfields as well as Commerce Center 3. So and I'm appreciative of the relationship that we've built with Danielle. So where we are now, again, we're working diligently this summer to start the boulevard, start the infrastructure, and then what you'll see happening is you'll see a lot of dirt start moving. So parcel C, the single family detached, will be the first really to get started with the multifamily residential. And then after the housing is built, then you can start concentrating on the retail and the commercial. That happens after the rooftops. So that's kind of the sequence. I also want to take a minute and talk about the sports complex. Again, not to sound like a broken record, but when the mayor and I sat down originally, the mayor had some concepts of at that point, it was the world's largest sports complex. I believe there's a monorail involved too. I'll defer to him. But there was grand plans here, and I'm so appreciative that the mayor introduced me to Mike Brown. Mike has 2 children who play travel sports and has a true passion for it. Brought in a partner in Brad who is local as well, and they wanted to develop this sports complex. So we started working with them, and I think that's going to be the crux of some of these subsequent conversations this morning. But I'm again excited to have Mike on the team and to be a development partner and to move that process along. One other quick thing I'll talk about very briefly is there's also some plans in the work to create a regional park. So the back portion of the property is about 90 acres. It sits actually in the critical area, so it wasn't part of the original PUD. What the plan there is now is we're doing some studies. We've got engineers and environmental people doing some work for us to delineate what we actually can and cannot build. But the intent is to deed 10 to 15 acres to the town of Elkton, so that we have a public park along the Elk River with some amenities. And it's a little premature to talk about it, but that's what the plan is right now. And then on the outside of that would be an RV park. So we're still vetting all those plans and working through those processes. But again, it shares our intent to create this public-private partnership with the town. McLean, you want to come up and talk real quick about the industrial? So McLean Fishers with Cushman Wakefield, and I've asked him to come and just give you an update on the market from the industrial standpoint.
Sure. Good morning, everyone. As Ray said, McLean Fisher. I lead the marketing efforts for Elkton Commerce Center on behalf of Tremble Pro. I think it's important to first speak about where we've been, where we are, and where we're going with this project at a high level. The drivers for this project are we have access to 2 major deep water ports that are growing. And currently at the Port of Baltimore, we have our second post-Panamax berth under construction that will handle some of the largest ships that will be coming from overseas. We also have direct access to I-95, and I think we've heard a couple people here today talk about between DC and Boston is some of the densest populace in the nation, some of the most affluent consumers in the nation. And effectively, Elkton is very well positioned to access, all of those households, rooftops from here from an industrial distribution standpoint. So really critical piece to all of this is access to the rooftops location between DC and Boston. Effectively, you are accessing from this location 35% of the nation, and effectively, you're also talking about same-day service to 10 million people within the Baltimore DC MSA. So when we talk about e-commerce, everybody's trying to position themselves for same-day delivery service, 10 million, third largest growing CMSA within the nation. Really important data points. And again, I've also some of the most sophisticated buyers in the country are within that DC to Boston location. So these are all very important pieces as to what's driving e-commerce, supply chain growth, and why Elkton is such an important piece of all of this. So when you look at how a site selection is done for a lot of these larger corporate occupiers, they're looking at incentives. Maryland has great state incentives for tax abatements, for job growth, for sales tax exemptions. You're also talking about transportation. Transportation costs have gotten absorbently high in recent years. Access right here on 95, very important. And then also, the ability to staff these operations. Some of these operations can be in peak seasons up to 800 employees working at one location. That's really important. The access and the real estate opportunity is not important if you can't staff these facilities. We have great access to labor. In fact, we've done some labor studies on the project that have compared ourselves to sites in Harford County, Newcastle County, and even into southern New Jersey. We actually score off the charts because you're accessing the type of labor, quantity of labor, and then also a lot of these other markets are overbuilt for distribution. When you have that amount of industrial space that exists, it's already a draw on demand, and you reduce the amount of actual labor that's going to be available. So Elkton is very well positioned from that standpoint. What we've also seen, as many of you guys probably know, over the past couple of years, it's been very hard to get materials, whether that's for building supplies, any kind of consumer goods. What we've really seen in the past year and a half are operations and corporations are trying to stay resilient by staying near strategic seaports. Where we are located here is almost equidistant between the Port of Baltimore, Port of Philadelphia. Really important to know that most people are setting up their operations that have access to deep water ports. So really good report. Now, talking about the project specifically. In the last 9 months, we have spoken to 15.7 million square feet of prospects that we've engaged in some discussions, whether it be conversations, meetings, proposals with users for Elkton Commerce Center. That would be for all various phases from building 1, 2, 3, and now what we've talked about, we've referred to as building 4 for ourselves. But that's a really powerful point of view. These things take time, and obviously market adjustments have occurred over the last year. Tenants are moving a little slower. 15.7 million square feet of companies have been engaged in discussions about Elkton Commerce Center. It's also important to note that where we're located, where users are typically looking between Baltimore, Philadelphia, new construction in 2023 has almost come to a standstill. Lenders are not really writing loans on large sort of distribution developments. And so if you look from the Port of Baltimore to the Delaware line right now, there are effectively 2 buildings, Elkton Commerce Center 1 being one of them, that can accommodate a user north of 500,000 square feet for an existing building or that is almost delivered. That's really powerful. That really, we talk about supply and demand. Well, the demand has certainly been consistent. It's not as strong this year, but it's still consistent. The supply is very, very minimal. So it puts us in a great position there for attracting some really great companies. We are currently in discussions, and I can't say who, but a really great company. We're currently in discussions with a group that would potentially be taking half of our first building. We're hopeful that that's something that is going to come to fruition. We're making good strides and good headway with those groups. And I think, as Ray mentioned, upon completion, we're talking about thousands of jobs. We're talking about north of $300 million total investment, which is a great data point for the town of Elkton. And I'd also encourage anybody that hasn't been to the project. It is a beautiful project. You come back, you look at some of the stormwater detention ponds and all the birdhouses. It is I do a lot of industrial. It's all I do. It's one of the most beautiful projects that we have anywhere in the state of Maryland. So I'll leave it at that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think it's important to piggyback on what McLean said. So when we originally had done the economic impact study for the project back in 2020, we had proposed 3 million square feet of industrial And I believe the economic impact then said it would be over 2,000 permanent job creations. I neglected to say the economic impact, the tax impact to both the county and the state of Maryland, including the sports complex. You're looking at $11 million a year in the county, $7 million a year to the town. These are real numbers. It's a significant amount of money. That's both in direct and indirect income to both the county and the town. And it's important to understand the logistics. I was negligent in how I described this. You know, we've created the industrial, and we said from day one that would be the first part of the development that needed to be facilitated. We're comfortable and confident now that tenants are going to be coming. We now need to create housing, or we'll lose that opportunity. So that's why we're working diligently on getting the infrastructure in place and finalizing approved plans. And then you'll see the retail and the commercial come. So, you know, in coordination with that, we still have a 55-acre sports complex that's a game changer for this community. And I think John and Mike will talk about that in a second. But, you know, from a flow standpoint, you've got to do the job creation first, and then you've got to create the housing, and then you create the live part of it, the retail and the commercial. So I think we're positioned in a great place today, you know, with the approvals, you know, relatively close to get the rest of the process started. So.
Thank you, Ray Jackson. I think that what you're going to see with the rest of the presentation is what we have to adjust. We have to change. We have to make changes. We're used to, as a municipality, we're used to seeing a building going up. We know that we're going to raise so much in taxes with that building. We also know that we're going to get business personal taxes from that building. But what we need to start looking for is the collateral impact of what we're going to be talking about next. The Great Wolf Lodge did a great job of talking about the Great Wolf Lodge. But what you see in Perryville right now is that collateral impact of knowing that you got 500,000 more people coming into that community. Those other areas are all developing because of that. They've had vacant the outlets. Anyone from Elton certainly knew where the outlets was. Well, that's all changing too. There was land there that's is going to be affected by the Great Wolf Lodge. Same thing here as we start moving forward with Southfields. Southfields, once it's finished, the collateral impact of the rest of the projects around us are going to grow. Those are the dollars that it's hard for me to actually put a number on. We can talk about the $11 million of the county, the $7 million of the town. But what I can't wrap my hands on, and I'm hoping to hear a little bit of this today, is how does it affect these buildings around us and the properties, the businesses that are coming in. So with that, I know I could speak up here all day, but I'd like to invite up from Sideline Properties, Mike Brown and John Campus. Are you both going to say a few words? So Ray was right. You know, when we first met, I was talking about building the largest indoor-outdoor recreation facility in North America. And I really believe that we could have done it here. But as we started talking about it, it really was it was the elephant that we couldn't even take one bite at a time. It just really, as much as I wanted it, it really didn't make sense at that time. I'm not saying we can't grow into that, but it was important to have some local people. And I know that I've known Mike for a few years, probably became a lot closer with him over the last year or two. But I think that you are the right partner for this project, and the floor is yours. Tell us a little bit about the project as I sneak on.
Thanks so much. So Rob was right. When we first started this project, probably for me, it seems like 30 years ago, but I think it was more like 7. It was really a passion project because my kids played travel sports. I was traveling hours away to play games I was playing in county parks with porta potties, and the teams that I was playing with were paying a premium to do this kind of opportunity, and none of the money was staying here in Cecil County. But my kids played on a travel team here. John was one of the coaches, to be honest with you. As time went on, I realized that, we are, from my previous experience, by the way, I'm not a developer. Ray will attest to that, I'm sure. I'm a paramedic. I was a paramedic for 20 years. I left county government and I started a business doing public safety communications. I was very fortunate to be successful in that and to build a great team of people. I have over 60 employees that work in that in 37 states across the country. That was my bread and butter. But I really wanted to do something here in Cecil County. When I was in county government, I realized that we were one of the biggest veteran communities in the state of Maryland. And all of our workers, they go to other places. We have 60% of the people in this county work in Newcastle County or Hartford County or elsewhere. And in order for us to have amenities for kids to be successful, it was important that we have projects like the one we're working on now and like Patriots Lane Golf Course that can provide for an experience for them and families to come and enjoy. Part of that is having a place for kids to be successful. John's going to tell you a little bit about his kids and the success that they've had as well. But in just the program that John was a part of, they have attained over 200 scholarships for kids without a complex to work in. They're practicing in high school fields. They're practicing on fields that are owned by corporations that are playing on softball, but they don't have a place to have tournaments here. But more importantly, there are kids in this community that cannot afford to play travel ball. And travel ball is the new Little League. What I mean by that is, in order for people to be seen, for kids to be seen, to get scholarships, they have to play on travel organizations. But there is a huge number of kids that can't afford to do that. And my dream has been to be able to provide that kind of opportunity here in Cecil County where they don't have to travel. They can spend half of their time here and just play sports here without having to have the expense or the family support necessary that takes them a couple of hours away every weekend. The disparity in that and the ability to get scholarships is huge. We have to bridge that gap here in Cecil County for those kids and also provide for the economic development of the county. People would think that it's a selfish thing that I would want to partner with the town, by pulling bonds and by having a public-private partnership. The truth couldn't be further away. The reality is we spent 5.5 years developing capital to build this project out. And what we realized is that comes with a huge cost. We have to give away 65% of the business to those capital partners forever in order to raise that kind of money. And what happens then is we lose the ability to help the community that we wanted to serve to begin with. So when we came to the town and talking to Rob and to Earl and to Gene and to Rob Masmiano and to Charlie, we said, listen, we have an opportunity here as a public-private partnership to make an impact, not just for the kids, but for the community that can drive a huge economic wave of both money to support the current residents and the kids that live in this community. And we can do it together in such a way that we provide a Disney-esque experience in the kind of travel experience that means your wife and your daughters don't have to play in porta potties when they go to play their games. Because we've all done it. If you've done travel sports, you've gone to a county park for $1,700 for a 3-game guarantee, and they're using porta potties. And I'm thinking to myself, how is this possible? How is this possible? And more importantly, I want to tell you, like I said, I was a paramedic. Everything that I've ever built has been built on finding good people and good mentors and good team members and good partners and saying, can we do this together? It's not because we know what we're doing necessarily, but it's because we have a passion for what we're doing. Because we're going to drive this thing. We're going to make a difference for these kids. I've done it in everything I've ever done. Every business I've had several now. I'm very fortunate. It's because of people like John and Ray and Brad that we can be successful. I get emotional when I think about it. My son, who went through a terrible medical experience last year, his passion to get better was driven by the fact of believing in things like this. This is not something that's make-believe. This is something we can actually do as a community. We have to shoot higher than we've ever thought before. We have to think bigger and we have to believe in each other and we have to work harder. That's what's going to get us through this. If you don't believe me when I say that, come talk to me. Come see the things I've done. Talk to my team members and you'll see what I mean. So I'll leave it at that before I get any more emotional talking about my son.
Piggyback off of that, I want to share a little bit on how I see the way things have been probably the last 15 years or so. my family, I've got two sons, both of them are in college now, very fortunate. We traveled from Maine to Florida. Every single weekend. What I've come to learn from talking to hundreds and hundreds of colleges and thousands of coaches is that not only are the boys and girls in Cecil County overlooked, we're not even on the map. We're not even on the map. And Mike was talking about our program, very fortunate in our program, a lot of boys and girls with scholarships. And every single time, where's Cecil County? Where is this? What are you talking about? Even a local school, and I hope I don't offend anyone here, University of Delaware, they don't recruit in Cecil County. So we're going from my family, it's going from Maine to Florida every single weekend, paying for 2, 3, sometimes 4 and 5 nights at a hotel room for exposure and to be able to compete. That's not a pretty picture. Like I said, every single weekend we were somewhere. As an example, let's just say one of my sons had a good tournament, and I thinking, well, let's get a little highlight film that we can use in the recruiting. It's typically one little camera on the back of a backstop, and the boys and girls are about this big, and they typically pay a college intern to sit there and watch hundreds of hours to pull little video clips, and then very expensive. Weeks later, I get something that isn't very marketable and something that my sons could no longer use. So I'll get to my point on that in a couple of minutes. For 25 years, I was one of the local YMCA directors here in the county. And the families, the boys and girls, are in desperate need of affordable activities, sports programs, childcare, however you want to label it. And they not only afford to pay for a little league, they certainly can't afford to pay for travel, and they certainly can't afford to go down and spend 5 nights in a Florida hotel. So all of these opportunities weren't there for my sons, and I'm hard-headed, and we just kept moving forward, and fortunately it worked out. But we're looking to undo 15 years that has been dumped on Cecil County, in my opinion. And it's not fair, because the boys, it's not fair for Cecil County. Try to change gears. So let's talk about the sports complex. You hear the term all the time, state of the art, state of the art. Everything is the state of the art. Most of the time, state of the art just means something that's new. This truly is a game changer, as Ray said. This truly is state of the art. We've been working with just one company, and the little highlight film where some collegiate internship spends 40 hours putting it together. We're working with this company that has software that recognizes your body shape. One of my sons has a little hillbilly mullet, curly head. They'll pick up his curls. They'll pick up the red jersey, number 2024, and truly is state of the art. We're going to be bringing all this to Cecil County. If mom or dad wants a little highlight film, they hit a button on the phone, and within minutes they got a highlight film, because this software, this business, not only is body recognition, but it'll go through thousands of hours worth of video and pull out what only adds up to about 60 or 90 seconds worth of highlight film. So when we say that this sports complex is state of the art, it truly is state of the art. We're bringing this opportunity, the opportunity that many of us have not had. We're bringing this opportunity to Elkton. We're bringing this opportunity to Cecil County. It was shared with us by a couple of you that we really are our sports complex. This project is within 1 day's drive of 1/3 of the country's population and economic input. Someone was talking about a 3 Great Wolf Lodge, 3-hour radius. Well, let's just talk about 5 hours up and down on I-95, Boston, New York, Philly, Baltimore, DC, Richmond. That is powerful. What we can bring to this county, what we can provide, the exposure to the boys and girls that, in my opinion, have been overlooked for so many years. And in my opinion, it's not that they're any better or worse an athlete than anyone else. It's that we've never had the facilities. We've never had the facilities, and it's not fair. We've got too many good people, too many fine young ladies and fine young men and it's time for them. We're going to bring all of this to them, and it's time for them to shine. So Mike has talked about it for years about providing multiple scholarship opportunities for these kids, because we're bringing everyone to us. We're bringing the SEC to Cecil County. We're bringing all these programs to Cecil County because of this fantastic opportunity, this fantastic project. I wish it would have been there for my sons, but they're not. But we're not stopping this opportunity. Obviously, if we could rewind for 15 years, my family would have benefited from it, because it's tough and it's not fair. We have been overlooked. All you got to do is go down to Harford County, then go down to Baltimore County, then go down to Baltimore City. And every time you get a little farther away from Cecil County, it's more difficult for the boys and girls to compete. It's not that they're not any good. It's not that they don't have, we just don't have the facilities. We're playing in facilities that you gotta work hard just to prevent injuries. This is going to be a game changer, as Ray says, and this is going to be a game changer for the boys and girls in this county, for the future of this county. This is long overdue, and I'm very excited to be part of it. Thank you.
So I apologize. I said John, we make each other cry all the time when we get talking about things. So sorry for setting you up. Just to set the stage a little bit, you know, as we went through this process over the last 5 years, I initially was going to builders to show you my ignorance initially. We go to builders with a picture, basically, and it had little bubbles on it. And I said, this is what we're going to build. We're going to build this sports complex. And they said, well, what are you doing with engineering? What have you done with permits? What have you done with stormwater? What have you done with grading? And Gene can attest to this too. I mean, I knew nothing, zero. I'm not a developer. Thanks to Ray and Brad and being good mentors to me, I've learned an awful lot, and Gene as well in the town. But the truth is that we've spent over $1 million getting to this point. We've invested over $1 million of our own money to get to this point. We have gotten through the engineering. We built a team with the next presenters, with LDD and with SFC, the two companies that we partnered with and asked to do a feasibility study to show objectively what this could do for the county and for the town. With LDD to challenge them to say, listen, we want to be better than anyone else. We're going to provide a better experience for the kids and for the families than anyone else. We're going to have Waldorf Astoria bathrooms, which is always my statement, because I insist on having the best bathrooms in any sports complex ever built. I also said we need to do it reasonably priced, that we have to be reasonable. Now, is reasonable the amount of money that it takes to build a sports complex? You know, I don't know. I didn't know what I was getting into when I got into this. But what I do know is the objective value of this and being able to make this work is only one part of it. The value that the money and the economic driver and the catalyst this can be for the county and the town, and the 250,000 people that are going to come here because of it, and the 45,000 hotel rooms that we're able to rent every year because of it, the hotels that we're able to build that will support the 5-star as well as the wedding venues in the town and the county because of it. Those things are important, but that is not the goal. Because that's what people believe when they see it, and they think it's an economic driver that's going to put money in my pocket or Ray's pocket or anyone else for that matter. That is not the driving force. The driving force is the kids. We've got to keep our eye on the ball for that. That is the number one reason that I've been doing this. That's the number one reason that John and Brad do it. That's why we're passionate about it. All the other stuff is ancillary. It has to happen, because if it doesn't happen, nothing gets done. It has to be something that we focus on to make sure that the rest of it occurs. So I'll leave it at that, and then I'll let you introduce if that's okay with you, the other.
Very good. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
Could you imagine a place that every senior high school child, every senior throughout the county, could you imagine that they could have a place to work at that sportsplex? That's how many people that they would be employing during those summertime venues. So if you took all the high school kids that are seniors and they're looking for that next step, that could be huge. I know you didn't say that. Maybe I'm putting words in your mouth, but I know that there's an opportunity for that. And
Can I piggyback on that?
yeah,
I've said for a long time, Friday night lights, we've all seen that. We can do that. We can provide that right here. Our version of Friday Night Lights, we can have Elkin High School and Northeast High School. Let's talk about spring sports. Our multi-sports fields, our multi-sports complex. We can have the girls JV and varsity softball. The boys JV and varsity baseball. The boys and girls JV and varsity. Every single program can start at 6 o'clock at our complex. We can bring those communities together. You talk about the opportunities that I guarantee you talk to the athletic directors to have all those families there right now at the same time for 50-50 raffle tickets, whatever they want to do. Think about the savings that provides the school system, not busing people, not having them, the maintenance crew prepping the fields. This is such a win-win opportunity for the local boys and girls in the future of this county. Think about our version of Friday Night Lights. That would be so cool, so cool, and so easy to provide. So easy.
Thank you, John. Okay, with that, we have leading design and development. Matthew Better, come on down with your team. I think you got a presentation for us. Are you guys going to need to project anything? Okay, the floor is yours.
We appreciate it. My name is Ryan Teeter. I'm the president of Leading Design Development, also called LDD Sports. And we have Matt Better here. We are the design team for this sports park, and something we're very proud of, something we've been blessed with to be able to be on this team from early stage, to be able to kind of implement our experience from what we've been able to experience throughout the years of doing business in the sports industry. LDD Sports, this is our 14th year in business. We've been able to travel the U.S., so to speak, to see the good, the bad, and the ugly that's out there. We get to see sports fields that are very well maintained. We get to see sports fields that are neglected. We get to see their local parks and rec fields that barely have a stand of grass, all the way up to an important client of ours, the Baltimore Ravens. So we get to see everything in between. Throughout the years of doing this, we've traveled to different facilities to not only see how they're being used, what they're being used for, ways that they're, developing them, maintaining them, expanding them, improving them, and ways to provide a unique experience. And so when this project came up, it was really quickly understood from us that we were in at the ground level, that we were able to take this project and implement our experience, the client's wants and needs, and a huge vision to be able to impact the community and the sports industry and youth. But as we've kind of grown into this project is really developed from more, not only just youth, but this is a multi-sport, multi-age project that's going to be used by the entire community and by people of all sorts of areas around this community. Not just kids. We've got the ability of kids that prior to even being able to, catch a real size football, to use these fields all the way up through to seniors and intercollegiate activities, and being able to generate not only the growth in the sports and the development that's important to be able to provide the scholarships and the educational advancements that come with that. So when we started this, we looked at the ability of being able to take a blank slate and see how can we use this, how can we maximize the use, how can we create something that is not just a soccer complex, not just a baseball complex. This is a multi-sport facility. And so other projects and other clients that we've worked with, we've gathered experience of how they've utilized their facilities and how they've developed their facilities and what's been successful throughout the years. And that's one of the things that we can see here is being able to make this a multi-use, multi-age facility in the heart of the community. Other clients that have done the similar thing have been able to show real world data that the use of these facilities alone will generate upwards of $10 million a year in just revenue alone that is brought in for that sports facility from using hotels, from eating at local establishments, from just being able to visit and shop within the communities. They've also reported data of over 10,000 hotel rooms a year. So the tourism impact that this facility alone will have is probably not even realized to the full extent at this point. And I think that it's probably, this is going to overachieve even the data that we're seeing from these other parks, because not only the location of this, but what we're putting into this park to be able to get more out is exponentially higher. So I want to just, make sure that everybody understands that, until this is built, I don't think everybody understands not only the full use ability, the full economic impact that it's going to have, but just the ability to create something that is important for growing the youth and be able to give them something not only to look forward to, but be able to expand and be able to grow into and bring back to the community. Because we also see a lot of other communities that have had, local professional sports players and whatnot who do exceed to that level, who come back and they bring back with them a team of people and be able to grow other parts of other sports and bring back that financial benefit that they're going to be able to give back to the community as well. So again, we're the designers here, but being part of this entire project from start to finish to look at every way in which everything is laid out, it's designed, but also how we're going to use it, how we can expand on that use, and how we can do things that other people haven't done before. In terms of just the ease of access to the site, being able to provide the amenities that are needed. And as my kids start to, get into the sports, and I see it firsthandly now, when you go to these events and you've got young kids that aren't playing on that team that's active at the time, you've got to provide things for those younger kids to be able to do, or else the parents aren't going to be able to spend the time watching their kids. When the grandparents want to come and watch these kids, they're going to travel from far away to be able to come, stay, and be involved in that youth sports that their grandkids are experiencing. So I see it firsthandly, not only with, what I'm going through with our family, but also as our company grows and as we get to see other facilities, but as we kind of set the mark for the next best thing in sports facilities here for this development, I'm truly excited. And I think that is something that the entire community will be not only excited about now, but once this gets here, it will be much better understood.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. So earlier I saw my daughter was signed in from Manhattan. And I don't see her on there anymore, but my daughter Shelby was a pretty good volleyball player. And for years we did the travel sports, and every weekend we travel from Penn State to Ocean City to Bethesda, Maryland. But the one place that we hated to go was Elk Ridge, Maryland. So Elk Ridge, we would play volleyball in a warehouse, no Wi-Fi access, no restaurants around. The bathrooms were cold, and my wife and I would flip a coin to see who would have to take our child to go to that event for that weekend. But if it was the event when we went to Penn State together, where if any of you has ever been to State College, beautiful setting. Your campus-like, you got all the restaurants, all self-contained. Penn State is kind of like what we're thinking here. When I say that, if you ever going out to State College, this is it. State College is State College. Once you're there, you're there. And that's kind of the thinking here. You're going to experience a lot. So with that, I'd like to, invite Gary Smallshaw from Sports Facilities Companies to come on board and give us a presentation. Gary, are you on, or do I have to? Oh, there we go.
Yes, I'm on.
All right, Gary, the floor is yours. So this is thank you for being part of this, and you're going to give us a kind of I guess this is the feasibility study on the Southfields Sportsplex, which we're all excited for. Floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Appreciate the invitation to speak on behalf of Michael Brown in this fantastic project. Let's kick it off with just a little bit of sort of an agenda. What we're going to do is just give a brief overview of the sports tourism industry, and then certainly get into a little bit of our credibility as it relates to that industry, sports facilities companies, and then we'll go into essentially reviewing the performer model that we've developed quickly, high level. We'll talk through the facility program, the development costs involved, and then ultimately how the facility performs from an operational standpoint and what the projected economic impact is. And then we'll chat through a couple of opportunities and challenges. But let's start off with the reason that we're, sort of in the room today, and the reason that so many people have stepped up to talk about their experience in sports is ultimately the youth and amateur sports tourism industry. Recent studies have pegged sports tourism at about $45.1 billion on an annual basis. The youth and amateur portion of that $45 billion is about $20 billion. And to provide a little bit of context, that's almost twice the size of the NFL at this point. And this is an industry of young families and athletes that are willing to travel great distances to go and spend money on sports, because that is first and foremost, what they really want to do from an experience standpoint, right? So youth sports really continues to be a reliable, recession-resistant driver of traffic. And to Michael Brown's point, right, this is not necessarily, the youth and amateur sports portion of this isn't necessarily a big money maker. The real money is in the direct spending and economic impact that it generates, right? So it's a catalyst for additional development, and it's an anchor and a driver of traffic is ultimately where it is. When you think about it, 90% of the money that gets spent at a youth sports tournament gets spent outside of the walls of that complex, right? And so there's a unique sort of aspect of this, design and facility that we're going to talk about. But ultimately, hotels, restaurants, all those other pieces is where the money goes, right? And so the facility doesn't really capture the portion of the revenue that it should, but that's why you've got the facility positioned to be a catalyst for other pieces. So a little bit about our firm. We were founded almost 20 years ago, right? We've led projects from start to finish, exactly for projects exactly like this one. We have a development planning division, we have a management division, and then we have a pre-development or advisory division. And across the industry, we're probably most well known for our institutional grade financial forecasting. So we do early market feasibility, which is the phase that we're in right now. We've essentially completed an institutional grade financial forecast that ultimately sets up the project for success moving forward. Just to give you a little snapshot of our pre-development work, we will do 175 to 200 studies across the country each year. And so we see a lot of data, we see a lot of numbers. We're very selective about the projects that we get involved with. But the other thing, that's important is that the real-time, real-world data that comes out of the facilities that we manage, and we have about 32 different facilities across the country right now, community and sports tourism-based facilities that we draw data from. We've got another 10 facilities coming out of the ground, so 42 facilities in total, plus all of the work we do on the pre-development side, helps us to essentially produce the most accurate institutional grade forecast for this industry in the country. And I can tell you as well that we're fairly conservative in our approach in terms of the kinds of numbers that we'll stand behind. And so you are, in a good position to understand that our numbers are conservative, but also optimistic that a project like this is going to be
amazing,
executed in your area. To give you some sense of the facilities that we essentially operate at this point, Myrtle Beach is one of our earliest, forecasts, if you will. A facility that was built for about $12.5 million back in 2015, and on average will generate about $23 million in direct spending for the local marketplace on an annual basis, about 49,000 room nights, and certainly that's a facility that's been running for a while. In total, it's generated $140 million in economic impact for the Myrtle Beach area. Gatlinburg, Tennessee, another destination facility, but certainly only about 4,000 people living in that town. The economic impact originally forecasted, I think, was around $25 million. It is now generating $54 million of direct spending on an annual basis. And by direct spending, I mean people who are traveling into that location from outside of a 90-minute drive, and beyond, if you will. So 73,000 room nights there. We certainly have the Hoover, Alabama complex out in Hoover. They host a big SEC event on an annual basis there, the SEC baseball tournament. In total, this facility, I think, has generated $193 million in economic impact, about 49 million in 2021, 62,000 room nights. And I think our original projection for these guys was around $30 million. So just to give you a sense of how these facilities can perform over time, based on our early forecasts, and so on and so forth. The other, more recent facility that we've set up is an indoor facility in Sandusky, Ohio, which is also a fairly small little town of about 19,000 people or so. Projected economic impact of 16 million, opened up in 2020. The economic impact in 2021 was 22 million. So already, $6 million in excess of the original forecast that we had produced. Once again, all this goes to essentially say that these facilities are catalysts, they're drivers of traffic, and a lot of other ancillary development will happen as a result of their sort of building them, if you will. In fact, the Cedar Point Sports Center, just to mention it, we recently had a visit up there for another client. We met with the county commissioners, pulled together the capital stack, and sort of reminisced about the way it came together. The county commissioner up there, and we can certainly put you in touch with him firsthand, has said that there's been another $100 million of ancillary development outside of the sports complex since it opened in 2020 that's come to the area. So just to give you a sense of, the catalyst or the other ancillary development that this facility can produce. And then the last example I'll just share with you quickly. This is a great example of how these facilities are coming together in this day and age, right? If before these facilities were essentially, find the cheapest piece of land in the most out of the way place, right? Youth Sports will beat a path to the doorstep of this facility. These facilities are now being conceived, and that's just some of the thinking behind Michael and his team at this point, right? Are now being conceived with the retail, hotel, and commercial development at the same time. So this is the Overland Park location, Blue Oak project, which I think broke ground in November of this year. Certainly a massive project, 105 million in development costs, but ultimately they will produce $22 million on an annual basis. The interesting thing is that there's 1.2 million square feet of retail at the doorstep of the complex, right? This is an overly, large complex, if you will, but that retail commercial component is sort of key to this project as well. And so I just want to compliment sort of the, some of the visionary thinking that you guys have spoken about over the first couple of hours of this call, and the forward thinking, that everyone has as it relates to this project, is just fantastic to see. So run through, we've essentially gone through kickoff call work with Mike and the team to essentially produce an executive summary and financial forecast for the project. We, set with Michael and his team and in terms of a development planning session. And these were the definitions of success for Michael and his team. This is about certainly creating a sustainable business model, but it's also, more importantly, a facility that really contributes to the mental, social, physical, and health and well-being of the community, right? A tournament quality facility that can generate economic impact on the weekends, but ultimately something that can be accessed by the local population during the week and over the weekends as those tournaments go on. But really, it's about also becoming an anchor and a catalyst for the larger Southfields mixed-use development project. So just some high-level data that we've looked at. Certainly we look at drive times. These sorts of facilities all operate on drive times. 500,000 people within 30 minutes is a very good number. But certainly the 2.4 within 60 and the almost 10 within 90, 10 million people within 90 minutes. The market, and really this was mentioned a little bit earlier, right? Great market in between Philadelphia and Baltimore. A growing market, young families, if you look at the median age, household income that comes in above the median household income when you adjust for cost of living. But the spending of recreation lessons down the bottom here is something we also look at as well, right? And so $187 essentially speaks to the propensity of young athletes and families in this area and what they will spend their money on, right? It's a sports driven area. It's part of sort of the fabric of society. This idea that sports drives great community values and family values, and that's what people will spend their money on. So just a little bit of high level data there. 4-hour drive time of 46 million, as we've sort of spoken about. Once again, great marketplace. And then, I'll just quickly jump into the facility overview. Obviously there's a lot of detail on the screen, but what's interesting, and this was something that Matthew from LDD referenced, right, is we're talking about a multifunctional, flexible facility. If you look at the overhead shot of the facility, there's only about 7 different fields that we're looking at. But those fields can be converted to a number of other fields. So take the top line. Yeah, we got 3 390-foot baseball, softball fields that can be converted to 6 youth baseball, softball fields over the same surface, or 2 multi-purpose fields, and so on. We've got multiple flex fields, which drives efficiency and effectiveness. When you're thinking about the economic impact, and we'll get to at the end. These flex fields, being able to host multiple types of events, multi-purpose baseball, softball. The focus is certainly baseball, softball for the most part, but it's just a smart move to use these surfaces. It drives density and it drives a variety of programming on a regular basis. So one of the key concepts that's being explored by Michael and his team along with LDD is the flexibility of these fields. And then the other piece that is very unique to the project is there's something called the Spine, which is essentially a retail and commercial support building that serves certainly not only the people that visit the complex themselves for during the week or for the tournaments on the weekends, but ultimately can service retail and commercial interests for that particular location, right? Restaurants, hotels, we've got medical sector partners that will go in that building. We've got additional events, because really Saturday and Sunday are not a problem from a traffic standpoint. It's Monday through Friday, right? How are these facilities sustained Monday through Friday as it relates to driving traffic and generating events and revenue, if you will? So in total, this is about a 40-acre complex, 772 parking spaces, 39.5 million is the total project fund cost that we've looked at. And from a performance standpoint, we can run through the initial 5 years. This is our financial performer. So essentially, this is where the facility will mature anywhere in between the 3 and the 5 year mark. So if you look at us, we're starting out at about 4.9 million in revenues in year 1, and we're up to about 7.7 in year 5. That 7.7 could happen in year 3. We're just giving you conservatively what the first 5 years could look like. And we've got a lot of great detail that you can dive into to look at those revenues and how they materialize and all that good stuff. And then, this is the total expenses, cost of goods sold, the way we lay things out. Operational performance, the facility generates $1.64 million in year 1, and we'll grow that number to about 3 million in year 5. We've factored in debt service at about $2.3 million. So we've got a net income, that over time starts at about 1.5. There's a little bit of a runway for us in terms of, debt financing, all that good stuff, but ultimately generating on average about $673,000 after debt service, in year 5 and beyond. We've got a 20-year outlook. I won't get into that. The number of events per year, 52 weeks a year, we've got about 39 events. We've got additional events that are going to go into the Spine, so we're still working through a few of those. Non-local days in market will start out at about 81,000 non-local visitor days in market, which will grow to about 136,000. So these are people coming in from outside of the city, the municipality, if you will, the town of Elkton, from a 90-minute drive or more. We're not counting anybody inside a 90-minute drive. And we'll be generating, starting at about 5,000 room nights in the early stages to about 12,000 room nights conservatively by year 5. projected direct spending, and I know we are doing an exercise as it relates to indirect spending, job creation, all of that stuff. But direct spending to the marketplace on an annual basis is projected at about $16.5 million on an annual basis. And so, fantastic facility. We've certainly described the opportunity, right, to create this tournament quality asset that can do a lot for the local community, especially when you talk about access to sports, right? There's times during the day when this facility will not be, fully operational because you've got kids and parents certainly have to go to school and work, but you can do so much with the local community, nonprofits, school districts to get people to this facility, provide those sports experiences that the kids are not getting now, because they can't really afford to play sports. So I think Michael's vision is something that can be executed at a very high level. Yeah, we do this across our facilities, our portfolio of 42 different facilities. And the other sort of key piece from an opportunity standpoint is Michael and his team's ability, and we've certainly, appreciate the experience that Michael and his team bring to the table. But the goal is to really leverage this baseball and softball marketplace to build a branded in-house tournament and events experience for targeted youth age groups, especially on the younger side. We think Michael and his team, are really primed to do that with our support. This is a facility that will drive non-local visitation and direct spending, be a catalyst and all of the other stuff we've mentioned. Some of the challenges is certainly growing and building that brand for in-house tournament programming over the early years, which we think is certainly doable. And then we've, just spoken about some of the early venue planning and design conversations that need to take place to make sure that the spine and the way it sits, right, accommodates the need for not only the people visiting the tournament in terms of access and ticketing and gate control, but it also accounts for weekend retail and commercial traffic at the same time, right? It's got to be accessible. And so there are a number of ways we can get to that, and that'll be one of the next steps that we get involved with. And then, we've certainly pointed out, as the developer on the conversation pointed out, retail and hotel inventory will typically lag behind. Like, so once the sports complex is built and people are confident it's going to come, you're going to get a lot of those conversations, a lot of that hotel inventory, restaurants, all of that stuff is going to come to town. And so next steps from our certainly we produced the economic summary, the financial forecast. It's really about exploring the upfront operational funding mechanisms that'll drive this project. And it's also about exploring strategic partnerships, right? Who are all the groups that share in the vision that really will come on board and materially impact the project in some way, shape, or form to take the baseline performer we've produced and ultimately improve on that baseline performer to help the project move forward. And so, I'll wrap that up, open to any questions if anybody has any, and hopefully that is what you needed, Mayor Alt.
Gary, thank you so much, and I was very appreciative. I think it was a great presentation. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
A lot of information there, and I think what we know is the direct spending. I mean, we can all figure that out. But going back to, Gene gave me the word this morning, the collateral impact of everything around it. Those are the unknowns that we can kind of guess on. The folks from LDD even mentioned it. It's greater than what we ever. I think that it's going to be greater than what we could even imagine. So up next, we've got Cecil County Economic Development Director, Bill Sorensen. Come on down.
Thanks for having me, Rob.
Thank you. Thank you for coming.
I'm glad to be here. So, not a whole lot I can say that's going to top what you've seen here in the last hour and a half. I've been here in 6 months now, so I've met a lot of you, and I'm looking forward to working with you more. When we spoke about sports tourism, which Sandy Turner, do you all know Sandy in the past?
Yeah, we know Sandy.
She should actually be up here. I'm not going to put her on the spot. But I didn't know a lot about sports tourism in the last few years. My background is technology, actually. I've been in government 5 years. I was an executive with Hewlett Packard for a long time. And so I like hearing about technology and state of the art and what's going to happen here with this complex. But this weekend, I was looking at definitions of sports tourism. And I saw two cool things. One of them said, including travel away from one's primary residence to participate in sports activity for recreation or competition purposes, travel to observe sport at grassroots or elite level, and travel to visit a sports attraction such as a sports museum, for instance. And then you talked about these fields, which can be repurposed. Visiting those could be also an event, a concert, place for kids to practice with band. So when I read more about sports tourism, this sentence that really hit me from a Wheaton Bull study said, sports tourism is a social, economic, and cultural phenomenon arising from the unique interaction of activity, people, and place, which sums up, Mike, what you said, and Mr. Jackson said, it's all summed up in there. Which leads me to, obviously, to give you some statistics. I'm not going to talk a lot about this complex because I think you're right. We don't know what the impact is going to be. But in my 6 months here, we've implemented a CRM, and I'm tracking all of the activity in the county. Projects, economic development projects. We're tracking over 65 major projects, which include yours in the database, right? Over the next 3 years, if all these projects hit, and you know they're not, I'm counting on 25% will be the close rate. But if they all did, it's over 6,300 new jobs to the county. It represents over 2.5 billion in CapEx. Think about that. That's a lot of money. People are looking at focusing, maybe investing in this county. And it's way off the map on square footage required in terms of building space, 12 million square feet plus. That's the kind of activity that's circling around us right now. Is a holistic view of the county. And the more I think about what you talked about here, this complex is going to attract talent and jobs. And it's going to make all of those people, we socialize this, everybody on that project list, I bet a lot of them are going to want to come to a county that has something like this. So, I want to leave you with a message about not only is this great for the indirect spend, which we can't really quantify, but we've got a big pool of fish willing to swim here and build here and do things here. This is going to be really attractive to them. So I'm glad to share any more data I can with you. We're putting together some reports that we can socialize that will be sanitized so you can see what's going on here. But we're in a great space, and this is really going to help. So thanks for having me.
Thank you. Thank you. Bill, you left your flight information.
Wish I had.
Are you going to the Maryland event?
Yeah.
Very good. So, we've heard a lot here today, and we're ahead of schedule, which is great. I guess we're great as long as the food is coming. But I want to kind of wrap this up with if the town moves forward to help this project along, how do we do that? How do we make that happen? How can we get involved to bring these dollars to not only the town of Elton, but the Cecil County, the state of Maryland? We've got, I think the number was 43 million or 46 million people within 240 minutes away from us. That's a lot of dollars that could come into our community. And what's also nice about that is that they're here and they're gone. They're here spending and they're gone. Right? I love it. I absolutely love that. They're spending it here and then they're gone. And I think this is the thinking that we have to have today. I'm going back to, we're building structures. I'm going back to our budgeting process, and we're $4 million more this year than we needed last year. And I can see that only going up, even though our government isn't growing in that manner, but our cost of doing business is greater. And if we wait on buildings to go up, it's going to be impossible for those things to happen. So that's why we need to be able to draw in these folks from our 4 or 5 hour range to bring these dollars into our community and help us fill up the indirect buildings around us, but also to spend that $187 per night into our community. So with that, I'd like to invite Chris Sheenan up from Mesero to come up and talk a little bit about bonds. What does that mean? If we go down this road to pull some municipal bonds to make something like this happen, help us understand that, if you could.
Absolutely. Well, good morning, everybody. Thank you for inviting me here. I am a managing director of Mesero Financial. We are a broker dealer specializing in municipal bonds and public finance. I've been working in Maryland most of my entire career. I've worked on some of the largest projects you've seen in the state, including Port Covington, the redevelopment of Columbia, the wharf in DC, projects in Anne Arundel County. And I can tell you, I think the impact of this project can be as cataclysmic as those projects were before them. I did have one thought as I walked up here that I did want to point out. We heard a lot about new development, new tenants coming in. I also want to say that I think this project and Southfields in general will also be able to boost existing businesses. People who are already here will realize the benefit, not just new development. With that being said, we specialize in the issuance of municipal bonds. And what that means is the town issuing a 30 or 40-year bond to help provide the upfront capital to make this project a reality. And the benefits of doing so are that, one, it spreads the costs over a longer period of time. Two, the town is the direct beneficiary of this. They will own the asset. They will realize the benefits of this investment. They will see firsthand and realize firsthand kind of what the project and the ancillary development will do to the local community, the regional community, and even the national community. I've worked on projects like this nationally. I've seen firsthand what they can do from an economic development standpoint, the opportunities that it creates for local people, local kids, as well as larger regional businesses. This is what municipal investment is designed to do, and this is what we do is we work with the town to structure a responsible financing. We're not looking to be aggressive. We want to make sure that the dollars coming in are real. The investment by the town is real, it's sustainable, and is repayable from the project. We didn't get into the specifics of the feasibility study, but one of the slides in there has a breakdown of the revenues less the debt service. And based upon the feasibility study right now, what they're projecting is that for every dollar the town invests, the town will get $1.70 back. That to me is I think a responsible investment. That is solely from the revenues of the site. That does not speak to or tie with any of the broader economic impact or other developments. That's directly the revenues coming from the project. And the revenues include concession, parking, operational, event planning. So those are all the things we want to think about to make sure that the town is getting more than $1 back on its investment. And the feasibility study, which I think we've touched on in the sense that there's still a lot of unknown numbers that could be much larger, but using their numbers, we can see a direct impact of $1.70 back by the town, which I think is shows what an impact this could have to the town and the area. We would obviously work with the town to make sure that we have structured and sized the bond so that the town's needs are met. We're obviously going to work collectively as in a partnership to make sure we effectuate a responsible financing. Take any questions?
Chris, thank you. Well, I certainly hope that this enlightened some of us here today. Earl, did you pick up on anything today?
I'm enjoying every minute of John's speech, first of all. Because I want to say something. Traveled to Gettysburg for the last 3 weekends just to see the grandson play 2 games. And the cost for just each parent to go in the facility was $10 to $20 per person. Now, this is not at the caliber level as John and them would be displaying here, but yet these are little amateurs that are playing just like JV basketball. It was a waste of money just to see them here for the weekend, saving the money and being able to invest into their program would be a great big investment based on this sports complex. I'm telling you right now, I'm going to say this and I'm going to close. The commercial, I looked at this insurance commercial where this life insurance where the people are sitting upstairs and people are knocking on the dirt saying you're sitting on a gold mine. This is what we have right here. We have a gold mine and we don't have enough eyes open to see exactly what we have. I'm just saying right now, this is probably one of the best opportunities we have in lifetime.
Thank you. Danielle?
I just want to say something with the feasibility study. I'm so glad that you pointed it out, but that 1.75 debt coverage ratio is a beautiful thing. So for me being a lender, for everybody out there, small businesses, you want to look for $1 to $1.20. So to see that the town, if they were to make this investment, would have $1.75 to cover that debt of every dollar is a pretty impressive number. It's a very, very solid risk. I just wanted to look up on that.
Well, listen, thank you. That's why we had you here to pick that up. Huh?
I like numbers.
Are we getting close? Are they on their way?
Lunch is due at 11:30.
11:30. So we got about 12 minutes before we serve lunch. Is there any questions or comments that maybe I can help with? With that, I think we're going to shut the camera off and we're going to end our Zoom meeting. And I really, really appreciate everyone that came here today, everyone that's, I think that there's a huge opportunity for us. I don't want to be the one to say, I'm a believer. I'm a believer in this. I was a believer 10 years ago. I was a believer when I served as mayor 22 years ago when we were actually looking at buying that Southfield site and putting a sportsplex ball fields on the where the Trammell Pro Tees was. So I've been invested in this for many years. I believe it's can happen. It's not a home run, it's a grand slam. And I just need some input from everyone in this room to give to me and help me understand, is this the right way for us to go or not the right way to go? Please talk to your commissioners and give us some feedback. Thank you.